All right, guys, let's look at the 1966 photo that was submitted to say that this is not edited and it's a picture of the entire Earth. Well, I simply do a little bit of cropping here, and let's look at this moon, shall we? Let's play with the exposure. Let's just simply take this, download it off the internet, and crop it, and already you can start to see, what is that? What is this, guys? Straight line here. Straight line here, straight line here, straight line at the top. Now, let's just keep playing with the colors just a little bit. Clearly, this is an edited image, not a photo. Edited image, not a photo. You can do this with anything that NASA puts out. You can look at this. That is undeniable edited proof. Wow. Boy, look at that perfect cube. Kind of like a black cube that certain people worship. Oh yeah, perfect black cube. Check. Check, please.
So all of the thousands of astronauts for 60 years are lying. Well, according to astronomy.com, only 667 people have journeyed to an altitude of 50 miles, which is nothing. That's not space. 24 have been to the moon and 12 has actually walked on it. Here's something I want you just to think about, okay? Without judgment, just think about this. The moon is 238,000 miles away, right? Have you heard of something called the Van Allen belt? It's a zone of energetic charged particles, most of which originate from the solar wind, okay? This is a belt that is this is in between us and the moon. So it goes us, the Van Allen belt, and the moon. The Van Allen belt starts at about 400 miles and goes to 36,000 miles. This is pretty close, way more close compared to the moon. Do you know how hot it gets at this level? Okay, the regions in the Van Allen belt go from 2,000 to 20,000 Kelvin. Well, what's Kelvin? 2,000 Kelvin equals 3,100 degrees. 20,000 Kelvin equals 35,000 degrees. 35,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Are you still with me? The Eagle lunar module used in the Apollo program was built mostly and completely of aluminum. So you're telling me that the aluminum in the ship alone can stand the 35,000 degree temperature when the space shuttle thermal protection system can only withstand 3,000 degrees. Okay, so the lowest number in the Van Allen belt will melt the thermal protection system. So you're telling me that this shuttle was able to traverse 30,000 miles of temperatures up to 35,000 degrees and still be able to make it to the moon, which is still over 200,000 miles away. The entry orbiter itself is made of reinforced carbon. Reinforced carbon melts at 3,600 degrees. Its boiling point is at 4,200 degrees, and the Van Allen belt reaches 35,000 degrees. So they would have to go through a radiation belt that would melt them, yet they had somehow a way to make it to the moon, and then were able to transmit a viable signal through this Van Allen belt that's 30,000 miles wide with temperatures up to 35,000 degrees. And you're telling me back in 1960, we could watch that television live without any interruption? And here I am losing my signal every time a plane flies over me. Oh, but it's because they have the satellites in space, right? So in 1960, they had the satellite that could beam through the Van Allen belt, which is at 600 miles up. Yet the moon, which is another 200 and something thousand miles away, the ship was able to make it through 35,000 degrees of temperature when its boiling point just for the carbon within it is only 4,200 degrees. You're telling me that these thousands of astronauts went and then lied. Actually, no, 24 went to the moon and only 12 walked on it. Do you know how easy it is to control 24 people? Especially when you have a lot of money to do it? Yeah. We totally went to the moon. Totally. Go ahead and think on what I said without any judgment in your mind. And you tell me how the ship of NASA's just survived a 35,000 degree Van Allen belt. There is no getting through Allen. None. There's no getting through it. No way. Not even the signal. We did not have the technology back then to get that signal through that Van Allen belt. Plain and simple. Go back to NASA and ask them to explain that one to you.
I was shopping and look what I found. A globe. Oh, how pretty, right? See what it says. Globes are not meant for educational purposes, but for only decorative purposes. Now, don't you find that odd, since that's the shape of our Earth? You would think it would be for educational purposes, don't you?
The flat Earth model finds its foundation in numerous biblical passages, offering a literal interpretation of the scriptures. Verses in Psalms, Ecclesiastes, and Genesis describe a world that is immovable and set on firm foundations, with the sun moving across the sky, a description that aligns well with the flat Earth model. For believers, this isn't just a matter of faith. It's about taking the Bible's word as literal truth. When the Bible speaks of a world with ends and corners, it suggests a plane, not a sphere. The shift from this ancient understanding to a spherical Earth model is alleged to be heavily influenced by the Roman Catholic Church's adoption of Hellenistic astronomy, and therefore a deviation from scriptural truths. Modern advocates for the flat Earth theory are not just driven by religious conviction, but also by their own application of the scientific method. They challenge the established scientific narrative with observations about the horizon's flat appearance and the behavior of celestial bodies. For instance, if the Earth were a sphere, they claim the curvature should be more apparent to the naked eye, yet the horizon appears flat regardless of the altitude. Additionally, the way light behaves, the patterns of the stars, and the absence of measurable curvature in large-scale engineering projects allegedly point towards a flat Earth. Critics of the spherical Earth model often point to NASA and the scientific establishment as culprits in perpetuating what they see as a grand deception. They argue that space exploration achievements, particularly moon landings, are hoaxes designed to propagate the spherical Earth myth. The flat Earth theory posits that powerful institutions have a vested interest in keeping the truth about our world hidden, framing it as a battle between truth and propaganda, between the observable realities of our world and the stories we've been told. The flat Earth theory isn't a mere relic of ancient thought, but a valid interpretation of our world, challenging the mainstream scientific narrative with convincing arguments.
Flights that don't make sense on the globe, part 2. But if you haven't seen part 1, go check it out. But before we get started, this is your reminder that east to west circumnavigation has been done millions of times. North to south has been done 0 times. So let's get started. Let's try going from Cape Town, South Africa to Auckland, New Zealand. So here we got Cape Town, South Africa to Auckland, New Zealand. Hit search. 1 stop. Let's look at the flight path. So we got Cape Town to Dubai. Then from Dubai to Auckland. Back to the map, so Google's most quickest and logical way to get from Cape Town to Auckland, New Zealand is to stop in Dubai, passing the equator. So let me get this straight. We have Cape Town, South Africa right here, and Auckland, New Zealand right here. They want us to stop all the way up in Dubai, passing the equator, which doesn't make any sense if we live on the supposed globe. We have Cape Town, South Africa right here, and Auckland, New Zealand right here. Now the most fastest and most fuel efficient for the plane would be from Cape Town to Auckland, New Zealand, in a straight path, right over Antarctica. But no, they want you to stop all the way up in Dubai. But I think I know why, because Antarctica isn't a continent on the bottom side of a ball. It's actually an ice wall that surrounds us. So here we got the Gleason's map, which all pilots use, by the way. So here we got Cape Town, South Africa right here. We have Dubai somewhere right here, and Auckland, New Zealand right here. Straight path. Ain't that weird, guys?
I want to ask you guys a question. What makes you think you live on this? Think about it. I want you to think about it. What makes you think that? Is it the pictures that you've seen of Earth from space? All these? Are these why? All these that all look different all the time, have different shaped continents, have different size continents, have different colors that look completely like drawings? Is this why? Or is it because you see the sun half covered and you know that the earth is revolving, so that's why you see the sun half covered? But then you can zoom in and see that it's not actually half covered, it's pretty high in the air. And you realize that it only looks half covered because of the atmospheric lensing and perspective. So if it's not those two, maybe it's this. Maybe it's that all the planets around, right? I mean, NASA says this is what Mars looks like. So, you know, Earth has to look similar. But does Mars really look like this? Amateurs catch Mars looking like this. It's a little different. Looks like it's light shimmering in water. Interesting. Same planet, different telescope, different person, capturing somewhat of the similar thing we're seeing. Maybe it's because you look up and see the sun and see that it's 93 million miles away, so everything they tell us about the solar system has to be accurate, right? How's it 93 million miles away if it's in the clouds? Maybe you think you live on a globe because the flight paths prove it, right? Don't know if flight paths prove it? I mean, this seems normal, right? You would never just go in a straight line. Let's see what New York to Moscow looks like on a flat Earth map.
Line, check this out. The edge of Canada, the edge of Greenland, straight over Iceland, straight over Sweden, and into Moscow.
Interesting.
Imagine that.
Maybe you think you live on a globe because NASA's gone way up in space and sent pictures back. But this is what their flight path looks like all the time. Does that look like it's going up to space to you? Boats go over the horizon, right? So that's why we live on a globe, because a boat goes over and then you can't see it, right? So that's what they teach us from a young age, right? That this happens, the boat's going to go over the horizon. If it's going over a curve, you can never zoom back in on it, right? Just like this boat that went out of sight and over the horizon. But then you zoom in, kind of like you do on the sun, and you see it's still there. It's not over any horizon. See, people think that's what's happening, but it's just like the sun, like I said. When something goes away and there's lensing because of the heat from the water or any type of atmosphere, you can't see it anymore. This is how the sun actually goes down. It just goes further away to the point you can't see the light that the sun is giving anymore. And look, we can't see that boat, and then you remove the atmosphere or the lens and it's still right there. Boats aren't going over the horizon, they're just going out of your sight, just like the sun. Star trails though, right? These prove that the Earth is definitely spinning. As this time lapse plays, I want to just tell you what the Earth is supposedly doing. We are rotating 1,000 miles per hour this way. We're traveling 67,000 miles per hour around the sun. We are hurling through the solar system at 400,000 miles per hour and hurling through the universe at 2 million miles per hour. Yet these stars look like they're rotating around us, to me, and Polaris never moves. How's that possible? Speaking of not being able to see things, we know we live on a globe because you can't see things because they're too far away and they're over the curve, right? Well, the globe model tells us that from 60 miles away, you shouldn't be able to see 2,400 feet because of the curve. Well, the Willis Tower is only 1,400 feet, and this picture was taken from 60 miles away. So I want to ask you again, why do you think you live on a globe? Because when you look into it, you realize all the reasons you think you do, they're explainable in different reasons that actually make more sense when you measure, repeat, and observe it over and over again. So I ask you, do you live here? And you know what? Obviously, I'm saying all this just for entertainment purposes.
Watch this video.
Gravity of the sun. So the sun can hold on to the Earth, can hold on to Pluto, but it can't affect the moon. You know who is in charge of all international flights? NASA.
What?
NASA NASA is in charge of
Actually?
all, and they run GPS.
Not a single commercial plane has flown over Antarctica?
No, none, ever.
Whoa,
And
why?
Because you can't fly over Antarctica. Look at the Earth. They'll come over Antarctica, and
This
then
guy
they'll
gotta
just
be a
come back.
comedian.
But there's so many pilots now that have spoken
no
out,
way.
military and commercial pilots.
A little bit too much for my brain.
This one's going to send you over the edge.
All right.
Okay.
No pun intended.
Over the edge. Southern flights prove that the Earth is not a ball. This is the World Cup soccer.
Oh.
Okay? They were in Doha. They wanted to go back to Buenos Aires. They went to Rome to refuel, and then they went back there. Why didn't they just go here? Because if they did, there's no place to refuel out here. On a flat Earth, Doha, Rome, Buenos Aires. Taiwan to Los Angeles. They had an emergency right about here. Well, where would you land? Well, you could go to Hawaii. You might as well go to Los Angeles. Instead, they went all the way to Alaska. Okay?
Flat Earth.
Right? Flat Earth, Taiwan, Alaska, Los Angeles.
Ooh.
Okay. So here's an emergency. They were going from New York to Hawaii, right about here, and they said we have to land. So they went to Seattle, which is like 1,000 miles out of the way. They got there in record time. New York, Seattle, Hawaii.
Who's directing the airlines to construct these flight pathways, Steve?
NASA.
The Earth's rotation is impossible to prove experimentally. The reason the Earth's rotation cannot be demonstrated experimentally is because the Earth is stationary. If the Earth were rotating, then there would be some way to detect its axial rotation. The Tropic of Cancer is moving 539 miles per hour faster than the Arctic Circle, while the equator is moving 625 miles per hour faster than the Arctic Circle and 85 miles per hour faster than the Tropic of Cancer. On a rotating globe, these differences in speed between these lines of latitude would be noticeable, detectable, and measurable. There would be repeatable experiments with accurate measurements of the Earth's rotation. However, there are 0 experiments that prove the Earth is rotating. Consider a rotating wind turbine. The outer parts of the blades rotate faster than the inner parts. This same concept is true for a rotating Earth. The further away the surface of the Earth is from its axis of rotation, the faster that part of the Earth will spin. For example, in the heliocentric model, the Antarctic Circle would not move as quickly as the equator. Anyone can spin a model globe to see that this is true. A rotating model globe demonstrates that the speeds across the surface of a spinning Earth are not uniform. A model globe, therefore, debunks the heliocentric model. The stationary nature of the Earth is self-evident. On a globe, an observer traveling north or south would experience different speeds across the surface of a moving Earth. However, everyone alive experiences a motionless Earth, and no human being has ever felt the Earth's rotation. This is because the Earth is not rotating, and a non-rotating Earth proves the Earth is flat.
The Flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer. His name was Al-Biruni, and he lived between 973 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Eddie Alenkar. Known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo, I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional mapmaker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my online store now and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.